everyone! Before anything else, I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you who watched Evil Madoka's Rise, the timeline Homura couldn't stop. That video was nearly an hour long. It took me 4 months to make, and in my 13 year of creating Madoka Magica content, I can honestly say it's the proudest I've ever been of having anything I've uploaded to this channel. Yeah, you heard that right. 13 years. I've been making Madoka videos since before the third movie even came out. If you count my anime music videos on my AMV channel, it actually goes back to 2012 that I've been making Madoka Magica content. I'm not the biggest Madoka YouTuber. I'm not the flashiest, but I am the one who's been here the longest, and I've never stopped giving it everything I have. That's why Evil Madoka happened. Not just as a theory, but as a world I built. I've had the concept of Evil Madoka in my head for nearly a decade. At first it was just a what if she turned evil in the fourth movie kind of question. But it grew. It evolved into something deeper. A reimagined timeline where Madoka isn't just a victim of the system. She becomes the system. I built her from the ground up with lore, emotion, and even psychological realism. She absorbed not just power, but pain, stemming from Homura's time loops and even from her own mother's influence in the first timeline. Now, I know the fourth movie, while Purgus Notch Rising, is teasing some darker past for Madoka, but let's be honest here, they're probably not going to go full evil Madoka. As much as I want that, as much as I need to see that, I think what we'll get is something a bit more restrained. She'll be confused, fractured, teetering on the edge of despair, but not fully corrupted, not villainous in a traditional sense. Still, there are moments in that trailer, and they're chilling if you know what to look for. There's a shot, quiet and subtle, of Madoka's shoes left behind. It's an echo of episode 2, where that woman under a witch's influence steps off a building, and we only see her shoes left at the ledge. And in the world of Madoka Magica, symbolism like that isn't an accident. It's grief. It's surrender. It's Madoka being swallowed by despair in a way we haven't seen before. Then there's that scene with the shattered glass. Madoka's face and body splintered across reflected fragments. To me, that's not just a cool visual. That's identity collapse. It's the visual embodiment of what happens when you're rewritten by time over and over until the person you were is barely a memory. Madoka isn't the confident, warm, unshakable version of herself we saw at the start of the original series. Not anymore. That version, the one shaped by her mother's strong guidance, her moral backbone, her sense of certainty is gone. What's left is someone chipped away by Homura's loops, by fate, by the paradox of being a savior and a victim at the same time. And it's in that space, that broken, confused, emotionally raw space, that my version of Evil Madoka was born. Not from malice, not from thirst of power, but from pain, from the eroded sense of self that comes from being everyone's hope and no one's priority. The girl who once saved the world starts asking, what if I mattered for once? What if I stopped breaking myself to fix everyone else? And that seed is all it takes. That's where Dread Empress Madoka comes from. A girl who's done breaking for others and starts bending the world for herself. You know what sparked this whole obsession? It's simple. We've seen the ugly sides of every other girl in the series. Sayaka? We watched her spiral into despair like a slow-motion train wreck. She made a wish out of love, but what she got back didn't match the fairy tale. She turned that disappointment inward until she couldn't even see herself anymore. That's not just tragic, it's human. Mommy? The mentor figure, the calm one, the one who had it all together until she didn't. She snapped, pulled a musket on her own teammates the moment her worldview collapsed. Her breakdown was terrifying, but real. Honest and raw. She was a girl who had been alone for so long. She clung to hope like it was a weapon. Kyoko, we met her as a selfish, cocky, ruthless, but underneath all the bravado was grief. A little girl who made a wish for someone else was punished for it, so she built walls, bit back tears with a smirk. Her cruelty? That was just armor. And Homura, oh goodness, where do we even begin with Homura? She literally tore apart the universe for the person she loved. She rewrote fate, corrupted destiny, and ripped Madoka from the heavens. And for what? For a version of Madoka that only she could protect. You want obsession? That's it, right there. It's high definition. But then there's Madoka. Sweet, kind, noble Madoka. She's the sunbeam in everyone's darkness. The girl who smiles even when she's hurting. The one who carries everyone's burden and never drops it. Hope, selflessness, purity. That's who she is. But here's the thing. We never got to see her darkness. Not really. We never got to see what happens when she breaks. When all those expectations become chained. When the girl who saved everyone asked just once, who's going to save me? And that's what I wanted to explore. Not to ruin her, not to tear her down, but to complete her. Because even the purest soul has a shadow. Even the strongest light casts darkness. And I wanted to see what lived there. What happened if Madoka, after everything finally said, no more, what about me? What if I got to decide? That's where Evil Madoka's rise came from. It wasn't a fan theory. It was a personal calling. A story I needed to tell. A missing piece of her character I needed to explore. That's why I poured 4 months into it. Why I scripted every scene with care. Why I created new visuals, new moments, new truths that didn't exist in canon. It's not just a theory, it's a reflection. And if you haven't seen it yet, I really hope you do. Because Evil Madoka's rise isn't just a video, it's the culmination of everything I've loved about this series since 2013. It's my answer to the question, what happens when hope breaks? And what comes out on the other side? And if you thought Evil Madoka's rise was the end of the story, oh honey, that was just the opening act. Because the next chapter, that's where everything unravels. That's where Dread Empress Madoka stops just being a corrupt version of Madoka Kaname and starts being her own genre of chaos. The winks, the tongue, the fan club, the soul gem confetti. It's not just despair anymore. It's a lifestyle, child. This next video is called Dread Empress Madoka, the tyrant Homura couldn't save. If Evil Madoka's rise was my thesis on why Madoka broke, this one is about what she does after she breaks. After she takes control, after she declares herself ruler of her own timeline, and everyone else, they're just her supporting cast now. Even Homura, the girl who once rewrote reality to protect Madoka, now finds herself powerless, watching as Madoka becomes something terrifyingly radiant. But don't worry, this isn't just doom and gloom. Oh, no, no, no. It also contains one of the most deliciously chaotic things I've ever written. A moment I like to call the idol audition from hell. In a timeline corrupted by despair, one girl dared to dream. Her name? Mami Tomoye. Her dream? To become an idol. And believe it or not, this wasn't a new dream. We're going deep lore here in one of the timelines, specifically Madoka Portable, the visual novel spinoff for the PSP. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's wild. And yes, you need to play it. Homura herself encouraged Mami to chase her idol destiny. But in that route, Homura recognizes something strange in Mami. That her charisma, elegance, and over-the-top fighting style, it wasn't just for battle. She had stage presence. She had rhythm. She had the idol factor, and she had the ability to shake her patootie. She said, and I quote, "You don't just fight with ribbons, Mami. You perform." Mami, of course, blushes, denies it at first, but deep down, she knows it's true. This girl was born for sparkles and glitter. synchronized dances, and dramatically shouting her attacks like she's auditioning for a magical girl K-pop group. And let's be real, Mommy's always had flair, ribbons, poses, soul gem glinting like a spotlight. She was born for synchronized dance routines and power ballet about justice. So when she finds a glittering relic in a corrupted labyrinth, an enchanted microphone with a minor curse of despair, she doesn't flinch. She says, "It's my time!" Mommy recruits the only backup dancers that she has, Sayaka, Kyoko, and Nagisa. Mommy begins training, singing, dancing, wholesome anime sparkle energy. Then she arrived. Dread Empress Madoka descends from above on black ribbons and on her gothic throne. And of course, that theatrical lighting, look at that. Dread Empress Madoka turns to Mommy and she's like, "Mommy? An idol? That is precious. Let me help." She provides the venue, the backup dancers, corrupted magical girls, also the crowd, rabid fans, possibly brainwashed by her, but we won't talk about that. Mommy, ever the optimist, says, "Oh, thank you, my Empress Madoka. I won't let you down." Oh, Mommy. Sweet, trusting Mommy. I just want to hold you now. I'm sorry, girlfriend. It's the night of the big concert. Mommy steps on stage. Spotlight, applause. Her dream is coming true. She begins to sing. The sparkles. The audience sways to the rhythm of her voice. And then enters Dread Empress Madoka. Full corrupted idol form, ribbons swirling, finger hearts at the ready. Dread Empress Madoka turns to Mommy, and she's like, "Oh, Mommy, let's all sparkle, but only me." Mommy looks at Dread Empress Madoka in horror. What is she doing? And Sayaka just deadpan, looking on off stage. She's stealing your spotlight? Confetti explodes, made from shredded soul gems, courtesy of Dread Empress Madoka. And then Madoka bows, winks with her tongue out. "Thank you all. I wrote this number using Mommy's diary." The crowd roars. Mommy stands frozen. Afterwards, Mommy is in a cubicle, dark bags under her eyes. She now wears a Dread Empress Madoka fan club polo shirt. And then Dread Empress Madoka approaches her and she's like, "Congrats! You're head of PR! No pun intended. Spread the gospel of me." Mommy tries to sing again. Zap! Brr, zap! Brr. It's then revealed that she's wearing a collar with Madoka's voice. No solo acts allowed. She wanted to be an idol. She became the opening act for her own humiliation. Dread Empress Madoka at this moment does a cat pose. Behind her, a single magical girl is floating upside down and crying. Tee-hee-hee-hee, look at what I did today. And that's just one scene, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Just one. If Evil Madoka's Rise showed you what happens when the purest girl breaks, this next video is what happens when she owns it. She's not begging for salvation. She is the moment. Dread Empress Madoka, the tyrant Homura couldn't save, drops soon. You're not ready, child. But she doesn't care. Because in this timeline, she doesn't ask for the spotlight. She steals it. If you didn't notice, the way that Dread Empress Madoka treats Mommy here is sort of like an inverse of their original relationship, because what's interesting is that in Rebellion, both Mommy and Madoka do a dance routine. They're like a dynamic duo. Even in Madoka's transformation, she does a little bit of a dance too. I'd like to think is somehow related to Mommy's theatrics, because you know how Mommy is flashy and a little over the top with her movements. I actually think in Rebellion, all the girls are kind of inspired by her to a certain extent, since they all move and dance and parade around much more than they normally do, especially Madoka. So the idea of Dread Empress Madoka acting as though she's going to support Mommy and maybe even work with her, but ends up stealing the spotlight, is like an inverse of the relationship that the two would originally have. You know, rather than working together or allowing Mommy to have her moment to shine, Dread Empress Madoka steals all the attention for herself. So the purpose of this was to give you guys a little bit more of a glimpse as to who Dread Empress Madoka is. But don't worry, the Empress will return, and when she does, she's bringing someone new. That's right, an original magical girl I've been developing. She's going to change the game. To everyone who's part of this journey, thank you. You're not just viewers, you're part of the world I've been building for over a decade. So yeah, thank you for being here, for listening, and for caring. This timeline wouldn't exist without you. Stay tuned! The Empress has more to say, so like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get all the updates for the channel, and check out the original video that got us here. We'll catch you in next week's video.